All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of Cast Polymer Radio. I'm Jonathan Taylor. Hope everyone's doing well out there this week. Today's episode is made possible by our friends over at the ICPA. Their mission is to enhance the success of member companies and enlighten the market to the value of cast polymer products. As a member, you'll gain advice and support for tackling critical industry challenges, discover success formulas used by other companies in our industry, and also learn new manufacturing techniques to stay ahead of all of the trends. So if you'd like to learn more, you can visit the website today over at theicpa.com. That's theicpa.com. Just as a reminder, registration has begun for the ICPA's annual networking event, The Buzz, coming up in April. That's up in Chicago. So just as a reminder, it's the annual networking event held in late April by the ICPA. Cast polymer manufacturers and suppliers come together for a weekend of fun, strategic business solutions, and impactful industry discussions. So if you want to learn more, you can go over to, again, theicpa.com, and there'll be all the information you need to get registered, all the links and everything from there. So, well, today I've got a fantastic guest joining me. I've got Rick Steranko. He is the founder and president of Spredx, a web development and digital marketing agency. Rick, I had the pleasure of talking with him on a group chat on Wednesday with some of the other members of the marketing committee for the ICPA, and Rick kind of laid out a little bit of I guess some of the work that he's doing on the Live Grout Free website and some of the things that they do as a company. I was happy to reach out to Rick, and he accepted to come on and spend some time kind of giving an overview, not only on his company, some of the services that they do, but also we're going to talk about, strategies for best practices, SEO, how to rank your website in 2023. And, the foundations are all the same, but sometimes there's some things that have changed along the way. So Rick's going to kind of update us there. Rick, I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time today. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I really enjoyed spending about an hour this past Wednesday, hearing you lay out kind of the presentation for the Live Grout Free site. And, Jennifer mentioned you being on the show. I thought, man, that's a great idea. I need to reach out to Rick. And sure enough, you're able to come on. So I'm happy to have you on. If you would share a little bit about, before we get into kind of the topic of, on-page ranking and all of the things that you need to do or your company needs to do from a marketing standpoint to get more, to become more search engine friendly. Maybe spend some time telling about your company. You guys are based out of Sarasota, Florida. Wonderful area to be. Give a little background on yourself and how you got started.
Yeah, sure. I actually, I went to school for engineering, structural engineering, University of Florida.
Well, those kind of all right, hand in hand,
Yeah,
right?
right. And
You're engineering, but you're virtual engineering. You're kind of
virtual
engineering.
Yeah, a lot of problem solving transferred over. That's about
That's right.
about it. But so I was working on a modular house project one summer, and engineering's just slow with the permitting and dealing with the city, But I had to build a website for the project, so I hired a web development team and realized how fast tech moves, and I really got addicted, fell in love with tech, been in tech ever since that day.
Right.
So back then, 2010, I started in e-commerce. I was building all my own sites, sourcing the inventory and running marketing for those. I ended up running about 10 projects. That really cut my teeth in marketing. E-commerce is like the best of the best, kind of competing, staying up late, knowing all the new tactics and that type of stuff. And then I exited that to start my agency. I just saw a huge white space. I went after like construction, manufacturing, local service-based businesses. There's just a huge opportunity in those industries. People barely had a working website. So when you're talking about marketing and ranking on Google, there was endless opportunity. I think there still is today in that field. So I say my agency is kind of consulting with execution. I've worked with a lot of businesses. I've seen a lot of businesses. So my favorite thing is to kind of dive in and kind of figure out the strategy, what platforms to use, how to build out the site, which platforms to stay off of. We don't need right away. I see one of the
Yeah.
biggest mistakes is try to do Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google
All
at
at
once.
once. Yeah,
Exactly. And
exactly.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like pull back, let's focus on these. I always know which ones are probably going to drive the best ROI for those type of businesses. So that's where I am today, just running Spredx, which is, like you said, a web development digital marketing agency here in Sarasota, Florida.
Sure. No, that's a lot of fun. Like I said, I mean, you're with an engineering background. I love, I know that's a lot of fun kind of looking at somebody's marketing or somebody's business from kind of that 30,000 foot level where you're kind of like analyzing, okay, let's start with what your business is, who your
Yep.
market is. And then that's a lot of fun because, sometimes, business owners get caught in the weeds, right? They're looking at one thing and one thing only, or they're looking, like you said, at multiple things that they've got to do all at once. And it doesn't make sense to try to do all of that at once.
Yep.
So that's a lot of fun from your standpoint, I'm sure, to be able to just look at, what their goal is, what their end goal is. And I think that's where like you said, that's where you have to start with is what is your goal, right?
Yep.
What is your end
Definitely.
goal here?
And I think the cool thing about being an agency is you're working with a bunch of different companies at a bunch of different stages in the life cycle,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
it's cool to kind of, you read so much online and people watch YouTube videos and you hear all these success stories, but I kind of know what it actually takes, how much work, the months involved, what
Absolutely.
results you can actually expect. And then it's nice to have the feedback of the companies. When I bring on a new company, if you're similar to this one and they're 2 years in, I think this is where you could get to
Sure.
in realistic stats. So yeah, it's super cool perspective that I get to take on these companies. And like you said, I'm seeing a bunch at once, and the whole marketing industry where I'm not so sucked into one that I'm stuck in the details or what they're doing day to day.
Absolutely. And I've always found that sometimes it takes somebody, because, and you could probably attest to this, that people that are, they're kind of always in their own pinball machine or their own echo chamber inside their own industry. So all they hear are the same things within their industry. This is what, and sometimes as an industry, as a business within an industry, it pays to look outside of
Yep.
your industry to see what might work. And we've heard success stories time and time again of companies that have, made huge shifts by stepping outside of what everybody else was doing inside of their industry, whether it's the restaurant industry, whether it's the mail industry, you name it, the trucking industry, who knows, there's things that you can do to kind of analyze, okay, what are these guys doing over here that's different? So,
Yeah. And I think there's just so many different channels too, right? When you're
yeah,
talking about Facebook, YouTube, Google,
right.
LinkedIn, and people like to kind of categorize them and say this one works for this industry, but they're all just social networks. There's attention.
Sure.
People's attention is on there. A lot of businesses need people's attention to grow,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and there's so many cool ways to use each of those platforms differently for businesses that you might not think would work on them. So yeah,
Right.
to look at different industries, to not stay pigeonholed. Definitely the
Yeah.
echo chamber is a tough thing that I even deal with in marketing where you're hearing all
Yeah.
the same stuff.
Right.
So yeah, it's important.
Well, let's talk about, I was reading some of your blog, and people can find it. We'll be posting a link, and sharing that with our audience, over at spreadx.com. You can check it out. Rick, they've got some blog posts over there that are very helpful. One that I was reading, it talks about how to get your website ranked. And obviously in 2023, as I was mentioning earlier, the foundations really haven't changed a lot, but there are things that people probably should want to recognize, and maybe what Google looks at and what they penalize. And, as we were mentioned earlier, the tendency of a business owner is to create a website and to throw some stuff up there, throw some information up there about their business and say, we've got to, this is it.
Yeah.
And that's just not, that's really not enough. And in this day and age, there's got to be activity, and there's got to be content, and there's got to be good content. But let's start. I'd love to hear your feedback on what business owners need to look for in 2023, when it comes to ranking higher in Google.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to get out of the tactics at first, right?
Yep.
And to kind of understand. So many business owners, again, they're reading articles, they're trying to educate themselves, and they get stuck on these little tactics, and they forget to step back and say, what is SEO? How am I ranking all that? And what you have to understand is, this SEO is just providing information to Google and other search engines.
Right.
And when you dull SEO down, you think, okay, for Google, their product are the search results, and their customers are the searchers, and they're just trying to provide the best, products for their searchers. And as business owners, it's our job to help Google help us learn to trust us, learn what we do, and who we want to get in front of, right? And so you kind of have to think that we're just trying to get all of the information about our business, who we are, to these search engines, so then they can rank us even before you get into those tactics. And a couple of things I would kind of dive into. One, it would be like what your site is built off of, right? That's like a main one I start with business owners. I build all my websites off of WordPress, Shopify for e-commerce. Why do I do that? Those are the biggest platforms, right? So if there's changes in Google, if there's changes in the Facebook, ads platform, I'll have access to those features very quickly on those CMS platforms. So, if you build your site custom, if you go with some of the smaller plays, you could get trapped. So to me, for all business owners, I always tell them, what's your site built off of? How are you managing it? How is it running? Because these things change every day, every month, and you just need to make sure that your stuff's going to be updated without you even having to do anything.
Okay. So that means a lot, what your site is actually built off of. That means a huge
ton. Yeah.
So these people that use, site platforms like Wix and all of these things that are just, to me, I don't know enough about them, but it sounds like they're more or less just, page builders or something just to throw up a quick page just to get people to recognize. But long term, they're probably, it's not a great strategy to use, in my opinion, platforms like that. You
hit a ceiling. Yeah, you hit a ceiling pretty fast. It could be good for, like you said, get the pages out there, get something usable that people can get online. But when you get into marketing or really trying to rank SEO or adding a lot of content, there's a pretty serious ceiling on those types of platforms. So what you pick matters, because your site should always be updated. As long as your business is up and running, your site should be changing along with your social profile. So you got to think in the future instead of just building that site as a one-off. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's talk about content, link building strategies, practices, on-page optimizations. Or on-page optimization. What are some practices that listeners need to be aware of when it comes to, I guess, before we get into the, maybe the content, let's start with, just the on-page optimization and, how that needs to be positioned on your website.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, when you start to build a website, there's two things you're building it for. You're building it for search engines, and you're building it for the users and the visitors. And it's just a balance. There's not a one solution, right? And so, for example, if I'm just building it for user experience, I might have this beautiful video playing right when you get on there, images sliding in and out, and it looks great. And that's awesome for user experience. But then as a search engine, when it crawls my site, it's just going to see 4 pictures and a video, and it's not going to really know what I do or anything about me. Whereas if you're building it for a search engine would love just a 5-paragraph essay on exactly what your business is, which wouldn't be great for user experience. So it's just about finding that mix at first. That's the first on-page SEO, is actually building out these pages where you want user experience to be good, but you also need to be putting enough content where Google's understanding your services, your business, and what you're about.
Okay. Yeah.
And then,
what link building? What about in terms of link building? And that's really, link building is happening typically away from that's happening off of your site, correct?
Off-site. Well, there is one great tactic, is internal link building that most people don't utilize. Okay. So link building, what you're talking about, is normally an outside website will write an article or have you on a page and have a link to your site, which is probably the most important thing to ranking on Google, because what it is, when you think about it in reality, is it's just another good site kind of saying, this is a good site, this is a good business, I'm willing to link to it. So it alerts Google, okay, it's probably not a scam, it's probably
Sure.
not a quick die site, it's a legit business, right? So the
Right.
more of those you have, the more link juice you have, the more it helps your domain authority and your ranking. What people don't realize is that same thing happens on your own site. So Google's trying to find the hierarchy of your pages on your site. And
Sure.
so of course, your homepage, your main page is going to be the most authority. And so what you can do is you can link to like your best service pages from your homepage, which will alert Google, okay, I'm reading his homepage, and on his homepage, he's linking to these 2 service pages. They must be the second most important pages on his site. So you can actually do the same thing with link building internally on your own site. And a lot of people do not utilize it.
Oh yeah, because that's when your site gets crawled. That's important to understand, when those links are there, what's valuable, where do you want people going next? And I guess it shows Google, this is the second most outside of the homepage that people come to. Obviously it makes sense. Second most important thing that people go to is to find out your services or your products.
Yep, yep, and you can use it to your advantage too. If you think of like a company like mine, if I have a SEO services page, I'd rather have that rank for keywords when people
Right.
are searching SEO agency in Sarasota than my homepage, because it'll get them
Sure.
into the content more. It makes more sense off of their search, and we have a higher, way to keep them on the site or get them to convert. So yeah, it's definitely a great tactic to use that internal link building.
Okay. Now, backlinking off page or off your website, how important is the authority of that website, or how high that website ranks that's linking back to you in terms of how beneficial it is?
Yeah, it's the most important. Obviously, Google's algorithm runs that calculation, and it can hurt you if you have, a low authority like spam type of site linking to you. So you also want to monitor these links to make sure you're cleaning them up so that you're only good. But again, you bring it back to reality. This is all kind of PR. You
Mhm.
want, your local news linking towards you. That will really
Yeah.
help other people in the industry. Obviously, with the ICPA linking to members, that helps. So it's just kind of building that. It's your online network, right?
Yeah.
It's your website's network of saying, this is who trusts me, this is who knows about me, this is who I'm connected
Right.
with. But yeah, you get any of the, something like a Forbes, or you get any of those big guys linking to you, you'll fly up the rankings. But you get a lot of the smaller ones, it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. You could have a much bigger company as a competitor, but if they don't have those people pointing to them, then you can rank above them easily.
Yeah. Or relevancy too, right? I mean, it could be
Mhm.
maybe a decent ranking site, but if there's no relevancy, because I get every now and then, and I don't know how, companies will reach out to you, or people will reach out on, some of our platforms and say, would you send us a link back? And but some of them don't make sense. Like, no, why would we do that? Why would
Yep.
link back to you? Because there's no correlation. It doesn't.
And And that's what people get stuck in. They get stuck in the old tactics that used to work, like
Yeah.
keyword stuffing, put this keyword 100 times. Well, yeah,
Sure.
10 years ago, that's
Right.
where the Google algorithm was. Guess what?
Yeah.
It's a lot smarter now. So,
Right.
yes, everything's about time on site. Google's tracking everything. If someone writes a really good article about you and it makes sense, and then the user comes over, they're tracking how long they stay on your site.
Sure.
To your point, if it wasn't relevant and they hit your site and they're off in 2 seconds, that's not going to help you at all.
Right.
So
Right.
this is less about building up those stuff and more about building more real life type of stuff. It's just a mimic of real life.
Yeah. And content, obviously, the better the content, the longer. I mean, and that's ultimately why people talk about, good content as opposed to just content, because good content is what is going to keep a person on your site the longest, which is what Google ultimately is looking for, right? Time on site.
Yeah, time on site, like I kind of put it right up there with backlinks, maybe even above, because you have more control of it. So I'm looking at it constantly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it like I said when we talked about Google's product is the search results,
Right.
and their customers. if that customer stays on your site for 5 minutes, Google knows they found what they were looking for. They were
Sure.
getting educated, or they were making a conversion. And so obviously video has a big play in that now. Not many people read as much as they used to. Images help, but video really helps. You put a couple 2-minute videos on those pages where it makes sense with other content, and people watch those videos. It builds the time on site. And also, that content can help. What I think most people forget is lead people down a certain funnel that you want them to go. People are a little too much, this is my homepage, this is my service page. One cool trick I'll tell you is the About Us page is normally the second most visited page on everybody's site.
Sure.
And so many people, especially in this industry, have like a small paragraph and a team picture, and that's it. And I say, use your About Us page as your second homepage with all of your services, a way to contact you to get those conversions. So
Yeah.
with content on your site, you can also lead people down the multi-page funnel, and then hopefully do convert or educate or whatever you're trying to do.
What kind of videos just you mentioned short videos that are informative. Do these need to originate from anywhere? Can you post on YouTube and then put these on your website, or do you recommend not going that route, but using a different platform for your videos to put on your website?
Yeah, my favorite is using YouTube, because then
Okay.
you can just embed it on your site, and
Yep.
actually you can end up putting other people's YouTube videos as long as they have the embed feature. They've kind of told YouTube, I'm okay with people sharing this content. Obviously, it'll have their brand name, their channel. That's the beauty of the YouTube embed. It's the
Right.
easiest way, especially with something like WordPress. You can grab a ton of content, short videos, long videos, stuff you've made, stuff you find interesting that kind of reinforces your content on there.
Yeah.
And then it could get people, the only thing that I would say with YouTube is it's going to have your channel stuff. You can remove some of it, but it might have like, suggested videos. It could get them down that rabbit hole. So
Right.
some people like to use a Vimeo or something or just upload the video to their site where they just want the customer or the visitor to watch that and not kind of move on. My favorite is a YouTube embed. It's the easiest. People are used to it. It's got the channels all set up and use on mobile easily.
So video seems to be a huge challenge in our industry. And it's not that it's not that you can't do video. I think it's just the time, I think it's like, okay, yeah, we can go out there, we can go out in the shop and create a really good video of our process. And then it's like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
We've got that one video, right? And it stops there, and
Yep.
I think that, some of the times, the idea of getting video is, it's kind of crazy to me to think that way, because, everybody's got one of these in their hand nowadays, and it shoots really good video that you can do on the spot and just knock out a quick, video every now and then. But I think that people, I don't know, to me, there's just there's a barrier right there for whatever reason. The video has to be perfect. It has to be scripted. And that's not the case. Some of the best videos that people watch are some of the ones that really are just on the fly. You're out there, pulling a top off of a mold and, shooting it out there. And here's what we're doing today, blah, blah, blah. And then, say hi to the team. Boom. there's your content, right? It's really not that hard.
No, and that's how we live our life, right? We're willing to like take videos of us and our kids and us, doing random stuff and send it to all our friends or our network. But then people don't want to do it about their business. It's like the same thing. Like I said, the About Us page, would you rather have a paragraph there or the owner just chatting? It could be a 30-second chat where he's just kind of saying all that stuff and showing around the business. But to me, now I'm a bit more connected. Now I'm a bit more personally invested. I've heard from this guy before or gal before, so I think it's I understand though. I understand. And it's always tough because of the post-production, people have really nice videos out there. So then you're always playing this comparison game. Don't play that. Get a video. There's easy post-production. Even if it's just from your phone to YouTube to the site, you'll be shocked how good you can get it, especially if you just pull some exposure and brightness, which takes 2 seconds, right? It looks a little more professional. And just let the content lead you into the video. Whatever paragraph you're going to put there or whatever service, even if it's just you describing that in a quick 1-minute video, it's better than not having it.
Well, I think there's a reason why TikTok is making, sites like TikTok and Instagram are making such, huge inroads and are so popular. especially amongst young people, because they're just on the fly videos. I mean, a lot of them that you watch are just reels of just people just in their everyday life, and they're quite addictive to people to go, people watch those on a regular basis. I think you have to understand that people like that, that element of just on the fly, that authenticity, whatever you want to call it, just being in the shop and sharing like a day in the life of your business is actually pretty interesting. Most people are like, I do this every day. This is not interesting. Well, not everybody sees a day in the life of your business every day. So it's,
And I think it's the total too. People look at one video and say, why is this interesting? But if they looked at creating 30 videos of each day or of the different team members and the founders, when you have all of those videos together, that's when you say, oh, okay, it wasn't this video provided so much content to the visitor and got someone to convert.
Absolutely.
It's just, that's how we shared who we were to the people on our site.
Sure.
And when you look at the total of the work, it can start to make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a question for you, and I loved your response, but I want you to share it with our listeners today, because we've had a couple of episodes recently on AI, ChatGPT, and I'm always so I've heard from copywriters, from guys in email marketing, how revolutionary this AI platform is going to be. Or may not be there yet, but will be. And I've had copywriters. I've had a couple of copywriters tell me this is going to change the world of copywriting. And I said, well, I'll believe it when I see it. It's pretty impressive, I got to say, because I've tested it out for things. But I'd like to get your perspective of somebody because I haven't heard from a perspective of somebody who is on this side of the business in, web development, design, web optimization strategy, search engine optimization. What do you think from an AI standpoint? How good is that for using it for content on your website, for blog posts, for content that is SEO quality content? I mean, what is your impression on that?
Yeah, so I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see where it goes, and I do think it's going to change a lot, especially in my industry.
Sure.
But I'm also interested in the here and now, right? And so I'm experimenting with it. And what I mentioned the other day is right now I'm basically at a 1-to-1 for my time. So how long it would take me to create meta titles or a paragraph for a page or a blog article, it takes me about the same time to prompt any, Chat GPT or Jasper, or Copymatic, right? Any of those. It takes me about the same amount of time to prompt it correctly, fix some stuff I want, add my twist, and add it to my site. So not a huge time saving now. I'm just experimenting.
Sure.
I'm looking more forward to where it comes like more of a personal assistant, when it can know, my writing, my sites, my emails, my clients, where it can start to cater. I think that's where it'll really take off for me. And then as far as images, I'm super interested because I'm a marketer and a web developer. I have a small design team, but me personally, I'm not a big designer. So I can't wait. And that's always a challenge of, like you said, getting videos or content or images, especially from my clients, to put on a site, because there's nothing worse than building a nice site and putting a bad image. And so you have these new AIs that can build, but right now it's kind of like, put a goat on a mountain and make it look like a Picasso painting. And it's like super impressive because it spits out three. But like that doesn't really help my website. So I'm interested when I can say, this is my client, take their work truck, put it, put it in the field on one of their job sites. And now I don't have to have, one of those guys go out there and put that together and take that picture. I can just create it on AI and put that on my site. So it's coming. I'm paying attention, but for the here and now, I'm just kind of in that experimenting phase. It hasn't taken over anything. And I do think, as much of copywriting and all that, it will. Someone still is going to have to prompt this thing and come up with the ideas and the structure of the information, because everybody's going to be able to produce information. So then it's like, okay, it just goes one step up of why you follow certain people or why certain sites go to the top.
Are there, and I'm sure that you would know this, is Google able to determine, if you're creating AI content on your site, is it able to recognize it? And is there a penalty to that?
Yeah, that might even be above my pay grade, to be honest. I can't imagine right now. I can't
Right.
imagine because it's not copywriting anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then especially if I'm in there adjusting it a bit. So as far as I know right now,
Yeah.
no penalties. I don't believe Google knows right now. It might be getting
Okay.
there, or they might have people working on it. But
Sure.
again, it's just content. If you're producing good blog posts and it is good information relevant to your business, I'm not sure anybody should really care if you wrote it or AI wrote it. But
Absolutely.
there are going to be some content and blog posts that I want my personal spin on, and I'm never going to let AI write that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I
Right.
think it can go both ways. I don't know of any penalties. I haven't heard of that yet, and a lot of people in my industry are using it, so they're going to be in a lot of trouble if that ends up coming down the road.
Well, thankfully, and I think there's a misconception that, this is not content that's scraped, this is being written and generated, in real time. And I think that that's the thing that people, I guess, when they first heard about AI and they first got into this, where's it pulling this from? Well, it's not pulling it. It's writing it based on,
I
it's
think it's just hard
limited
for people.
knowledge. Yeah. So far.
It's
Yeah.
hard for people to understand that. You
Yeah.
ask it for a 5-page essay and it spits it out in 10 seconds, and just our human brain just thinks it
Oh
grabbed
yeah.
this from somewhere. It's just going to take us a while
Oh
to
yeah.
kind of understand how this stuff works.
I
But
had a copywriter friend. He and I were playing around with it one day because he was like, "You're not going to believe this," and he was just showing me. He actually had it write a poem in real time. I mean, it was original poem, just like,
yep.
psh, psh, and it's just shooting it out. I'm like, "Where's it pulling this from?"
Yeah, I
He's
should
like,
have
"It's
done
just
it. I
writing
actually
it, man. It's just
I
writing it."
I yeah, I test stuff off of my wife since she's not in marketing to see like
Yeah,
if it's hit like the mainstream yet
yeah,
outside, and I probably shouldn't have because I was like, write a love poem and then write a birthday card to my wife, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because
yeah,
she might be thinking it, but she wasn't interested in it at all.
yeah,
Could care less, and that's when I know, okay, it's not quite here. It is here for some industries and stuff, but mainstream and how we use it for value. Because this is all a value trade,
sure,
right? If people are coming to
absolutely,
say losing business, what value are you providing? And maybe if you are accumulating this great amount of content off of AI, you're able to provide curated content, which is a value to someone. But if you're just spitting out useless stuff to
yeah,
build a bunch of content on your site, no value. And I don't think you're going to get rewarded for that in the end.
yeah, very good. Rick, it's been a pleasure having you on, man. I want people, generally, let me ask you, when people, when they first inquire about your services, what is kind of the first place you start with companies? Maybe you could just walk us through, and then share some of the services that you offer for any of our member companies out there that would be interested in, talking to you further about whatever their goal is. What is the first step that you have with any company out there? I'm sure you're having a conversation and you're probably doing a kind of an audit, so to
Yep.
speak, initially to see exactly where they are to begin with, right?
Yeah. So first thing, and I'll do this for anybody who's interested. I run full audits, so I'll check out your website, how it was built, how it's ranking. I have a ton of software that can do that. If you're running any marketing, what's happening there? I just want to get a feel for one, your business in the real world, and then two,
Right.
how that's reflected online and what you've done so far. Because my services kind of run through it. That I'm kind of an all-in-one. I build the sites, I run the SEO and then the marketing. Now, if someone has a great site they just built, no
Yeah.
problem. We can just start with the marketing and the SEO. Personally, I like it all in one because they all match together, right? The site with the SEO. Another thing I
Sure.
didn't mention, the Google AdWords. I think every business should be running at least a small amount of Google AdWords. There are certain keywords in your location or national, whatever it is, that you should be ranking number one for. And then that'll help pull you up organically. So, I do web development, SEO, all types of marketing when you're talking about Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, YouTube, plus the social organics. And it's just a lot of consulting within that, right? I love
Sure.
getting into these businesses, learning about them, seeing how I can help, working with them, I do monthly contracts because I want to stay with these businesses. So it's not a one-off build and I'm gone. I want to stay around and kind of be their tech guy, so to speak, that they can bounce ideas off of me and I'll bounce ideas off of them as I see what's happening in the industry.
That's fantastic. Well, you've got to have, in this day and age, there's so much changing, so much change going on. I mean, we just talked about AI. I mean, you've got to have somebody outside, you know, because you as a business owner can't keep, you know, your ear to hear what, you know, to know everything that's going on out there. You've got to be, it pays to have somebody out there or somebody with your expertise in your company that work inside of this that really helps you out and kind of shares with you what's going on and is more of an advocate than anything. I've got your website up there, spredx.com. I'm assuming that's where people need to start. They go and they can learn more. If they have questions. Do you have, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Email, phone number?
Yep. Free. Email and phone number are both on the site. My email is just rick@spredx.com. Phone number's on the site. Forms come to me. So I'm the owner, but I take care of all the inbound leads. You'll be dealing with me. You know, I have my design team, my development team, but I deal with all of the leads and the clients on a monthly basis.
Very good. That is Rick Steranko at Spredx. And Rick, I appreciate your time today. Thanks so much, and hope you have a great weekend down there in sunny Sarasota, Florida. I wish I was down there. What's the temperature? I'm just curious today.
Actually, it's a little cold today. Cold for me. It's probably about 60, but yesterday it was 80, you know, and I'm still wearing a sweatshirt. I'm just a Florida boy, true and true. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it so much. I enjoyed it.
You bet, Rick. Have a great one. Thanks.
All right, Jonathan.
All right.